This is Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
I mean, I could just make a bunch of guesses, but I like him as a guy, and I haven't seen him skate yet, so I'm really looking forward to our first ice session together and, just seeing how this whole group meshes together. I don't think one guy is going to make or break our team. I think it's going to be a combined effort from everyone who gets out there.
That was Connor Hellebuyck when he was asked about playing with Jonathan Toews.
The reigning Hart Trophy winner, Cam.
Yeah, it's all about everybody coming together. It's not about one guy.
I kind of thought I'd always say Vezina Trophy winner, Connor Hellebuyck.
Three-time Vezina.
Kind of thought that was coming.
Three-time Vezina Trophy winner.
But I'm just saying, I thought Vezina Trophy. I thought he'd win one, right? Early on. I never envisioned Hart Trophy winner Connor Hellebuyck.
No, neither did I.
That's how.
I don't think he did either.
That's how. Well, I don't think. Yeah.
There's only one thing left to win.
But that being said, it's good to see him back in town. And I don't know if that story, Jonathan Toews, finished first overall, but yet lost in the second round. Mark Scheifele's dad passed away on the day of game. There's just so many offseason storylines, and Jonathan Toews. I just personally in this market don't think that's being talked about enough. He won the Hart Trophy.
Yeah.
No Jet has ever won the Hart Trophy. We live in an era where Hart Trophies go multiple times to the same player. Gretzky, Lemieux, Messier.
Connor Hellebuyck.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if he's got another one in him. I don't think so.
Oh, my God.
But this is an era where Connor McDavid should win 9 like Wayne Gretzky did. This is an era where Nathan McKinnon probably should have more than one. This is an era I think Nikita Kucherov should have had one. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy award to do to win the league MVP of the league.
Yeah.
And Connor Hellebuyck has done it. And I just think of all the storylines that we're talking about. And even he is talking about Jonathan Toews because he's being asked about it. But he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Now, I wanted to play that audio because I think it's a great sort of segue into what we talked about yesterday. And if you missed that, download the podcast, go and find it from yesterday's episode. Where it's like there needs to be tempered expectations around Jonathan Toews. You need to understand the reality, the context, but behind his return and all that. And I just thought Connor Hellebuyck had a great answer. It's like, we'll see how he does. It's about everybody else. It's not just one guy on the team. It's not just me. It's everybody. So
you know what else that says to me? He's not from here, right? But he's a Winnipegger now. He also talked about getting to know Winnipeggers, and he's got friends here and stuff like that. He's a Winnipegger now, but he's not from here. But this just speaks to this core that came up together, right? Mm-hmm. I think it affects them more. I mean, Josh Morris even said today he was a hero to me. In 2010, I was in grade 10 when he won the Olympics and the Stanley Cup in the same year. And he's like, I look at Jonathan Toews back then in the 10th grade as a hockey god. Mm-hmm. So we're getting that sentiment from a lot of these Jets players. But Connor Hellebuyck's always been a little bit about, we want to do this together. We want to do this. Yeah. You could bring in Connor McDavid right now. And I think Connor Hellebuyck would literally say what he said about Jonathan Toews.
I think he'd have the same answer.
He's like, it's not one guy. It's not he signed here to not only win, but to win with the guys that he grew up with. Mm-hmm. And Kevin Cheveldayoff joined us. Sorry to cut you off. At the start of last year. And we talked about re-signing all these guys. And we addressed it with Kevin Cheveldayoff as you kind of had to. There's not a lot of free agents coming in all this. But they lost a piece of that with Nick Ehlers, right? That's the first guy that this core has grown up with and signed multiple deals with that is gone now. But it's interesting how Connor Hellebuyck addressed that. I got to see him skate, and I got to...
Yeah.
That's
so funny.
Everybody else is talking about what he's done in the past as Jonathan Toews and thinks he can contribute, and Connor's just straight to the point. I haven't seen him yet, so I'll tell you how I feel when I see him. And I bet you he would go, whoa, looks a little slow. No, I'm just kidding. But
Jets at Noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line to win a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method. 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later in the program, which is coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. Boston Pizza, where kids eat free all September long. Conditions apply. We'll talk a little bit of Calgary Flames. Of course, Dustin Wolf re-signed. That's the big story. from the Calgary Flames in their offseason. Jock Wilson from CHQR Sports Talk. He'll be joining us right after 12:30 to talk a little bit of Flames. The Wild owner and Kirill Kaprizov, Elliot Friedman was discussing that maybe Craig Leopold, when he said that he'll sign any check to keep Kaprizov, maybe that might have been a mistake, and that might be why there's no deal right now as we speak.
Well, the letest thing I read this morning, he literally said that. The insider, I think it was Friedman or somebody, said at this point, I think they're just saying let's just push for the higher number.
So
you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
We'll get nuts with you.
So we'll discuss that too as well. And Sidney Crosby has come out, despite rumors and all that, about what he really wants. So we'll discuss that too before the show is up. But did you see this about Hellebuyck and Dustin Byfuglien?
Yeah.
You heard this?
Yeah.
So here's a question by Dave Manouk.
We asked you about fishing. What did you think about Dustin Byfuglien? He's been hitting up the tours this summer.
Yeah, I saw he just did well in his last fishing tournament too, so pumped for him. I think I would still beat him in a fishing tournament though if he ever challenged me.
See, that's what people. I would love. I would watch that.
I mean, how much money could you raise for charity if you just did the Connor Hellebuyck, Dustin Byfuglien fish off?
And they pick a team of
and
like
you
four.
Televised it somehow, and
that'd be a big event.
They pick their fishermen friends to go with them.
Yeah,
I mean, Byfuglien's hanging out with a world champion, is he not?
Lots of several world champions.
Yeah. So, and then Hellebuyck, his brother, I think, is a pro fisher, pro angler.
I don't know.
I think his brother is.
I'm not sure.
I don't know that. But
that could be true.
There is a Hellebuyck that he knows. I think it's his brother that's a professional fisherman.
How many Hellebucks are there out there, really?
You know, school's underway. How many kids in school right now are saying, Dad, Mom, I want to be a professional fisher?
You know, there's not much money in that, boy.
Like, well, there is if you can.
Like as an angler or being like a commercial fisherman?
Not a commercial fisherman.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of money in that too, but being a pro bass fisher or something.
Well, hey, whatever.
Is it like darts or bowling? Like we mock it, but yet they make a couple $100,000 a year?
Yeah, at the tippy top. Yeah, and
it's like curling.
So what is the other 99.99% of potential pro bass fishermen making? They're making radio money, I'll tell you that.
You got to catch more.
They're making.
You better catch
they're
more.
making Jim Toth.
It's kind of like Hollywood, right? Like at the top end, wow, what a life. But if you're the one waiting tables and trying to, but I don't know. Like, I mean, people mock the pro bowling circuit and darts and stuff too, and those guys can at the top end pull in a couple $100,000 to a mill. Pete Weber.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be.
Who do you think I am?
I don't want to.
You are.
I don't want to be the guy to poo-poo the dreams of a child, but let's get real, kid.
Could you imagine? I'm going to be a pro bass angler.
Yeah.
I just need a boat and some sponsors, and
I need to know what I'm doing.
That's when you have the whole what's your backup plan?
This, speaking of backup plans, Jim Toth, Michael Russo coming up. Mm-hmm. We heard lots of backup plans potentially for Kyle Connor. Some reports of Detroit or whatever, which I never believed whatsoever. And I didn't think that the reporting was even meant to be accurate. I thought it was just an insider just sort of speaking his mind about certain things.
Yeah.
But Michael Russo came out and said, Kyle Connor, I hear, wants to stay in Winnipeg. Kyle Connor is interested in staying in Winnipeg and open to reaching a contract extension with the Jets. Now, I'm not surprised by this. I felt like this the entire time. Hopefully something is reached soon. And usually when you start hearing stuff like this, that usually indicates that they're getting pretty close. Now, every time somebody is wanted out of Winnipeg, and I put wanted out in quotation marks, Patrick Laine, PLD, Nikolai Ehlers, Jacob Trouba, etc. It hasn't come as a surprise, right, Jim? It's usually years leading up to their exit, at least 2 years or a year and a half or whatever. We're well aware that there's a likelihood that there won't be a contract or a deal that comes together. The fact that nothing had been said or has been said, to me, that's how the Jets do business. That indicates to me that Winnipeg was Kyle Connor's first, second, and third option, and that there really was no serious doubt that this was not going to eventually come together. Now, there's no pen to paper yet. This isn't official yet, but this is likely, and listen, if Kyle Connor is interested in staying in Winnipeg and they can come together on the right deal and the right money, this is going to happen. And it might happen hopefully before the season starts.
Yeah, I never was worried about this. And it kind of goes back to what we just talked about with Hellebuyck, how they've grown up together, how they wanted to do this and all that. I'm more interested than the AAV. I'm more interested in the term. Yeah. There's not a lot of guys signing more than 6 years. And I can understand, like Kyle Connor. I think the reason this has happened, and I haven't really reached out to a lot of people about this, but my perception is I think the 6-year deals for the guys that are entering UFA at 28, 29, 27 are because they want to control the end of it. And I know that sounds ridiculous because you never know. If you sign a 6-year deal, you don't know if you're even going to see the end of that deal, let alone get another one.
Yeah.
But the guys like Kyle Connor know the money's there. And if you stay healthy, he'll be 34 years old after 6 years. And I'm sure he'll heavily want to remain a Jet for life. But you never know. Like if there's 2 years to go and the Jets aren't contending anymore 5 years from now, that he's got 2 to 3 years left in his career, he might go, I've always wanted to be a Red Wing. Or Corey Perry, if I'm going to sign a 1-year league minimum, and then I'm going to sign with Montreal because I always loved them. There's all that talk around Crosby, and the Montreal Canadiens and all this. But I'm more interested in the term than the AAV, although I think the AAV is going to surprise some people. I think it's going to be about 10.5 to 11.
The dollars, we'll wait and see about that. I still think 10.5. That's kind of where I'm sitting.
It might be 10,
10.5.
Like I look at, I've made this point how Hellebuyck, Scheifele, Ehlers, Josh Morrissey, all those guys signed $6 million deals, and then Connor signed $7.1 million AAV. I could see it being a and a half more. Yeah, I could see Hellebuyck and Scheifele getting their 8.5, and I could see him getting 9.5 to 10. So I'm going to say 10. I think he gets 10 to 10.5.
Let's take a break. Let's come back. 204-780-6868. You just heard from Sidney Crosby. Rumors about him being a Hab. Tom just texted and says you should talk about Ivan Demidov. A-Cam. No, thank you. I told you I'm avoiding any conversations about Demidov. Unless
he's dynamic.
Yeah, he's a great player, and he's going to be a great player in this league. I just don't want to talk about him unless the Jets are playing the Habs. Then we can talk all we want. But this is not turning into the Demidov show. If you want to listen to Demidov radio, there's about 1,500 Habs podcasts where you can listen to them talk endlessly about how fantastic and wonderful he is. It's not personal, Jim.
No.
But Sidney Crosby linked, quote unquote, to the Habs. What does Crosby really want? We'll discuss after this.
Somebody should ask him.
On 680 CJOB.
Call the Boston Pizza Jets at noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Boston Pizza, kids eat free all September long at Boston Pizza. Dine in only, see store for details. The 38-year-old captain of the Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby, despite rumors he might be looking to join another organization with a better chance to win the Stanley Cup, reiterated his desire to stay with the only franchise he's ever suited up for, the Pittsburgh Penguins, while delivering tickets to season ticket holders. Quote, there's a lot of narratives out there, and I don't think a lot of those have come from me. So this is where I want to be. I love it here. I can't keep having to answer the same question over and over again because of these narratives, End quote.
I think he's a Penguin for life.
Well, so do I.
And the difference between him and McDavid being an Oiler for life is he's won. He's won 3 there.
That's right. That's the big difference.
Like if McDavid had won one of the last 2, I think he's signed by now. But they have 11 UFAs after this season. How do you convince Connor McDavid, with the way that organization has been run, albeit under new management with Stan Bowman, that for the next 6 to 7 years we're going to compete for a Stanley Cup? With 11 UFAs coming and a $16, $18 million ticket to him, a $14 million ticket to Draisaitl.
And guys like Broberg and Holloway, who are going to be long-term Oilers, taken away on offer sheets because of mismanagement of the cap.
Mismanagement, and you can say new GM and Stan Bowman, but Stan Bowman's got I can understand why he's not signed yet.
Jock Wilson will be with us from CHQR Sports Talk in Calgary to talk little Calgary Flames. How are they doing? I got my thoughts. We'll discuss after this. Jets at Noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line and win a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later in the program as we're coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. Boston Pizza, where kids eat free all September long.
It's September now.
Conditions apply. It is. What do you think about the Flames this year, Jim Toth?
Well, you know me, being from Lethbridge. They're going to win the Stanley Cup. Watch out. No. It's interesting. They're one of the more interesting franchises this year because they're like the St. Louis's and they push for play. They're like the Montreals. Should have they made the playoffs? Should they not have? Dustin Wolf, can he repeat his performance?
Yeah.
But on paper, I don't know what you're going to get from them. They're like a box of chocolates.
Well,
my friend from high school, Forrest Gump, used to tell me that.
Yeah. Well, a very smart man one time said to me a long, long time ago that the Flames consistently fall into that we just need one more piece category.
For decades.
And that person is our guest right now, CHQR Sports Talk host Jock Wilson. Jock, how are you doing? And is that the case right now?
Hey, listen, guys, I know it's been a tough go for the Calgary Flames. They've missed the playoffs 3 years in a row. They've missed 4 of the last 5. But for the first time in a long time, there is actually some genuine optimism around this team. This is not, the Darryl Sutter general manager days where he, got rid of all of his draft choices and tried to win now, which was a freaking mistake and set the organization back. Brad Treliving tried something similar. They didn't give young kids a chance. Right now, the Calgary Flames have a really nice mix of veteran players. They have restocked their cupboards. They have signed most of their young players moving forward. They still, have some very, very good veterans on this team. So am I going to sit here middle of September and tell you the Calgary Flames are a Stanley Cup contender? No, they're not. That's not their game plan, though. That's not their goal. Their goal is to be a Stanley Cup contender in a couple of years when they move into their new building and there's all sorts of excitement. So I would say right now they're building in the right direction.
That being said, Jock, and I speak on behalf of Kevin Cheveldayoff, what do you want for Rasmus Andersson? Let's get it done.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it, boys? And Craig Conroy has done a great job signing a lot of his good young players like Dustin Wolf, like Matt Coronado, like Connor Zary, like Martin Prospicil and Adam Klapka. But right now, everybody in this city is just waiting with bated breath on what is going to happen with Rasmus Andersson. And do I see him staying with the Calgary Flames organization? No, I don't. I think moving forward, it's going to be interesting to see what this team does. And, I don't think there's any urgency to trade him today. But obviously prior to the NHL trade deadline, then it becomes a much more hot button topic. And you could say the same thing about some of the other veteran players. What are they going to do with Kadri moving forward? What are they going to do with Coleman moving forward? Michael Backlund is the captain. He probably wants to end his career here. But, again, are they going to be part of the plan when this team truly is going to be hopefully a Stanley Cup contender in a couple of years? That's going to be the interesting thing. But, I look at the Jets roster. There's a lot of pieces I would take, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure Winnipeg is a destination for Rasmus Andersson.
Playoffs were there for them last year. There was some games where the Flames shot themselves in the foot, and by the end of it, it was just one too many times. Missing the playoffs on a regulation win tiebreaker, tied in points with St. Louis with 96. What do they need to do this season to become a playoff team?
Listen, it's tough to make the playoffs in the National Hockey League. And, right now, I think just staying the course is the right thing to do. Can Dustin Wolf take it to another level and give this team the quality goaltending? Yeah. Nazem Kadri played great last year. Even Jonathan Huberdeau, who is, a public whipping boy here in Calgary, he had a pretty good season. And you look at the veteran players, and I think what's going to be interesting is, they're going to have to improve their power play. They're going to have to improve their penalty killing because that set them back last year. Mm-hmm. And from the power play perspective, that's why Rasmus Andersson is taking a lot of heat in the city because the Flames' power play was not very good. And Rasmus Andersson, was, the so-called quarterback on that power play. They got a young kid by the name of Zane Perek you probably heard of. He's still young. Is he going to make this team out of training camp? Is he going to be a power play specialist like he was, in the Canadian Hockey League? I think that's got fans very, very excited, about this team moving forward.
So I like the pieces, like you said, Jock, that they put together here. It's just a matter of what and when and where. But overall, with the Farabys, the Frost, the additions like that, and the young ones, they could push, right? Like they could maybe be the surprise St. Louis or Montreal Canadiens team this year as well.
Yeah, I think ultimately the goal would be to make the playoffs this year. And I'm not sure Farabee is going to put them over the top. I'm not sure Morgan Frost is going to put them over the top. I think it's going to be, you've got the good core of veteran players, as I mentioned, with Kadri, with Huberdeau, with Sharon Govich, with Coleman, with Michael Backlund, Ryan Lundberg, add that to the mix. Who are going to be the young pieces that move this team forward? And, can Matt Coronado step up his game even a bit more than he did last year? He was a great sniper last year. Connor Zary got hurt, but he is certainly showing some great upside for this organization. Martin Prospicil is a really tough son of a gun to play against. Adam Klapka with his size, can he take it to another level? And then you've got some of these younger players that are looking, and probably not ready for 2025, 2026, but the Sam Honziks, the Carter Kings, the Andrew Bashes, the Sam Mortons, Cole Reshny was the top draft pick for the Calgary Flames this year in the draft pick. So, these are guys moving forward, I think, that are hopefully going to put the Calgary Flames over the top. But right now, you look at their goaltending. If Dustin Wolf can continue his strong play, defensively, they're in pretty good shape with Mackenzie Weegar and Kevin Ball and Joel Hanley and Miromanov and Pahal and even Jake Bean, maybe add a Zane Parekh. Who knows what's going to happen, with Rasmus Anderson. And then it's going to come down to scoring. So as I say, guys, I really think, the special teams are going to be the difference for this team, whether or not they're going to be a playoff team or not.
Do you think Wolf should have got at least a nod in the Vezina Trophy finalists, the top three?
That's tough. When you don't make the playoffs, it's really tough to put you in the Vezina category. He certainly got some love for the Rookie of the Year, the Calder. The one thing we know about Dustin Wolf, and everybody looks at his size, and he is small because you see this kid in street clothes. Holy cow, he is not a big dude. However, he's big between the pipes. And what we know about Dustin Wolf, he has dominated everywhere he has played, whether it's the Canadian Hockey League, whether it's the American Hockey League, and his first full season in the NHL, he didn't suck. So, ultimately, he is the real deal, and that's why the Calgary Flames extended him for the 7 years.
How has Ryan Huska been behind the bench for the fit for just what this team is right now?
Ryan was a very, very good fit. And I say that because, he came obviously from the system and, the players like him. And it was such a change from previous coaches. You go from, Darryl Sutter, who, again, was a good coach. Don't get me wrong. He's probably a Hall of Fame coach, but he was a terrible manager. And it was just a different caustic, attitude in the dressing room that, didn't play well with some of the veteran players. And, young players didn't get a chance. So the one thing Ryan Huska will do is, give those young players an opportunity to actually, have an opportunity to play and succeed in the league. So, right now, Ryan Huska has been, very, very good. If he would have made the playoffs last year, he should have been in the conversation. I'm not saying he should have won it, but he should have been in the conversation, for Coach of the Year. But again, missing the playoffs by, percentage points, really did hurt him in that conversation. But no, Ryan's done a very nice job.
We'll switch gears. We'll stay in Alberta though. Connor McDavid, do you think he's going to stay with the Edmonton Oilers?
Listen, of course he's going to stay with the Edmonton Oilers. How long is the term going to be? It's obviously going to be not a 7 or an 8 year contract. I don't think anybody is seeing that, but just pick a number. Give them the 20%, give them the max, and they can get it done. So, I think obviously this next contract is going to be very interesting, but do I see him going anywhere? No, I don't, not in the short term. That's still a very good team with a good chance to win. So ultimately, I don't think people can jump on that bandwagon saying he's going to go somewhere else, at least not in the short term. But, hey, in 4 or 5 years, all bets are off.
Back to the Stampede Wrestling days, he should turn heel and sign with the Flames.
Now, Flames fans would give up Rasmus Anderson for Connor McDavid.
Jock Wilson, CHQR Sports Talk host on the show. Jock, thanks so much for joining us. Take care, okay?
Anytime, guys. Good luck to the Jets this season.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you
Jock.
too as well.
All the best to you as well.
Yeah, 204-780-6868, 204-780-6868. The Flames, when you said that they're an interesting team, Jim, they are. I don't know what to make of them. They're not flashy. Like, if there's a team in the National Hockey League that is not flashy, it's the Calgary Flames. But they might be greater than the sum of their parts. Do you know what I'm saying when I say that?
So here's who I really like. It's Connor Zary, Matt Coronado, Adam Klapka.
But which of these guys,
and
okay.
Igor Shergon.
Dustin Wolf is going to be a star in the National Hockey League. I believe that between the pipes. He's going to be perennially in the conversation around the Vezina I think he's going to become and develop into a top 5 goaltender. So there's a star. Who else there on that team pops off the page when you look at it? Like, honestly, seriously, who for the Flames pops off the page? And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think that that's a bad thing.
What? I hate to say this, but this is Flames hockey to me.
Yeah.
Like, they got some guys that are pretty good. They got some young guys that should be really good. And then they're in this mix and they got to really, they went to a Stanley Cup final with Jerome McGinley, Mika Kiprusoff, and 19 grinders.
Yes.
Like 19 grinders.
Yeah.
Martin Jelena was a star on that team.
Yeah, he scored some key goals.
Their GM right now was a star on that team, but they weren't stars in the league, right? They have more talent here. They're not as good as they were a couple of years ago. Like when they had Tkachuk and Gaudreau.
Yeah, they had star power. You know what I'm saying?
They had Markstrom and Chris Tanev.
Yeah,
they had star power.
People popped off the page.
They had star power, and if you could have kept that core together and brought in the Zaris and the Coronados
Hamilton,
you would be a contender right now. But you couldn't. They didn't want to be there. They wanted to sign elsewhere, and they didn't want to stay. And that's what I think is lost in the tragedy of Johnny Gaudreau is the tragedy, and I don't want to, take anything away from that. But there's a guy that earned the right to sign wherever he wanted to sign. That's the difference between the Jets right now. Say Mark Scheifele wanted to just live somewhere else and didn't re-sign here. Like, I don't think you understand as Jets fans, I think most do, but how fortunate you are that the players that have re-signed here in the UFA years stay. Well, Johnny Gaudreau and Tkachuk, if they would have stayed in Calgary and they kept Tanev and Markstrom and they had these young players coming in and Kadri and they didn't have Huberdeau and Weegar, they would be fine right now.
Absolutely.
They would be playoff bound
in fact, they would be in a great spot because now they would have that goaltender, that elusive position that the Flames could not get a beat on.
And yet Calgary can get some free agents to sign there and Winnipeg can't. And you used to live in Calgary. I'm from the area. There's Banff. Calgary's a great city.
Calgary is my second city. I love Calgary.
You couldn't keep them there.
I love Calgary.
But yet Winnipeg can keep a Hart Trophy winner. Winnipeg can keep a potential Olympic center in Mark Scheifele. Winnipeg can keep Josh Morrissey 70 points a year. How different are they? The difference is the guys here literally chose to stay here. And Johnny Gaudreau wasn't a bad guy.
No.
Tkachuk's not a bad dude. Everyone said he was going to St. Louis. What I take from that is, as much as I know for a fact Gaudreau loved Calgary. Loved it and would be going back there into retirement if the tragedy didn't happen. That's how much he loved that place. But he still chose not to resign there because he wanted to experience something different. Maybe like Nick Ehlers. Mm-hmm. But if they could have kept that core together, that's the difference between where the Jets are at right now and where the Flames are at right now, is just players choosing to stay here.
Well, that's a great way to close out this segment. 204-780-6868. Miss your chance. Get your thoughts on the show today. Call the Boston Pizza Jets at Noon hotline. Open 24/7. 204-780-6800. Boston Pizza. Kids eat free all September long at Boston Pizza. Dine and only. See store for details. Hey, call that line 204-780-6800. The number one caller will be awarded a $50 gift card to Boston Pizza on Friday. Let's take a break. Let's come back. Maybe in a different world, somebody would have told Craig Leopold, maybe just ease it back a bit.
Take it. Maybe sit this one out, champ.
You know, we do have something called a salary cap. And we have to be compliant to that salary cap. We'll be right back. 204-780-6868. Congratulations to Mark Beavis. He's got our VIP text for a VIP car wash. Our good friends at Wash Method, 690 St. Anne's Road. Mark says, I think the narrative on free agents should change. Taves clearly could have signed elsewhere. Also, Nyquist likely could have gotten more elsewhere with all the extra cap space out there. Yeah, well, Taves,
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I know that I heard his agent called 13 other teams.
Yeah.
But he wanted to play
13,
here.
Did he get 13 other offers?
Well, we all know why he wanted to play here.
Yeah.
Like it's a different story. Show me somebody who's not born and bred in Winnipeg that is Jonathan Taves' ilk that wants to.
Well, and the chance to win. Taves isn't going to do this with the San Jose Sharks.
The one thing that's lost on me is the chance to win, Cam. I know the whatever, the high end McDavid's, whatever. What I never get is the Gustav Nyquists of the world. You don't want to come to Winnipeg?
Yeah.
I talked about this with
guys
Seth,
of his ilk.
Remember
obviously.
Seth Jones said Florida or Dallas only? And
Yeah.
I went off because I get that if you go Dallas, Florida, and Winnipeg and you don't choose Winnipeg, I get it. But you don't want to play with Josh Morrissey for the next 7 years with Connor Hellebuyck as your goalie and this top six. You won't even consider it. Now, it worked out for him. He won a Stanley Cup. I'm not begrudging him that. But the fact that these guys don't even consider Winnipeg, given the roster they have, is beyond me. There has to be that. There's the echelon. And the very next tier to the next two tiers should all be at least thinking about Winnipeg, given the team they have.
Download the Jets at Noon podcast free now on Apple, Spotify, face-to-face on YouTube. Find special exclusive content so you can take Jets at Noon wherever you go, whenever you want. Elliot Friedman put this out there, Jim. We'll close out the show with this. It says there now is no magic number on the table for Kirill Kaprizov and the Minnesota Wild to get a deal done. Craig Leopold, the owner, says we'll do whatever it takes to get this done. We can sign him to the biggest check. I think there's some people sitting here wondering if Kaprizov and his agent are saying, how far can we push this? I think Kaprizov's going to re-sign with the Minnesota Wild.
I do too.
I think it's going to be a four-year deal or something around those lines, give or take a year. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to stay with the Minnesota Wild. But I think this is absolutely. It's like, okay, you said 16, but you said that there's no number high enough, essentially. Well, why isn't it 19 now?
Well, did we not all say 14 like Leon Draisaitl? And I thought you'd start at 14 and settle on 16. You came out of the gate and give him 16. Do you begrudge him or his agent to go out of the gate? Should we just sign it, or should we ask for this? We haven't even negotiated. Should we ask for 18?
After the comments from the owner, where like essentially it's not going to be an issue. Money is not a problem. And the Wild desperately need him. And Jesse Pierce, a podcaster down in Minnesota, she's going to be joining us tomorrow to talk about this.
He's also coming off he's also in an organization that was handcuffed by cap money that was dead, and they still managed a way to finish the playoffs. Try to convince him that taking the max won't help you build a good team around him.
Jim Toll, take you all the way
just
till
did
2
it for
o'clock.
a couple of years.
Thanks very much, Jeffrey Fortier, for producing the show. That's it for me. Back same time tomorrow. See ya.